What advice would you give anybody going through a separation right now?
Advice for blokes going through a separation. Firstly, it's a roller coaster. You're going to be up, down. I think when I first went through my initial stages, it was right before COVID. And we had that honeymoon period where, I don't know if you can all remember, but it was beautiful weather. It was sunny. Every day was like a holiday and all was good. But then once reality kicks back in, the most difficult thing for me really was the marriage breakup was one thing, but all I ever really wanted to be was a dad. And being a dad full time, 100% of the time, was something I wanted to be. I wanted to be there every morning, every Christmas, every, tooth that's fallen out. And obviously being a working dad, you can't be there for everything, but being separated means that, for example, last year at Christmas, I woke up Christmas morning on my own. And people say, well, why don't you go and get yourself another partner and things like that? It doesn't matter whether you've got a partner or not, but it's the having your kids there on Christmas morning and going to bed on Christmas Eve on your own, and those kind of things. And I think that's what affected me the most. So it's tough. It's fucking really, really tough. And I guess everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to have a different version of sadness and happiness, and you're going to go through these peaks and troughs. If I've got any advice to you blokes, don't download Tinder. It is a fucking absolute minefield. That's going to put you on another roller coaster of emotions. The algorithm's not set up for blokes to be too successful. Now, I'm not saying that, it wasn't good at times, but half the time you're not entirely sure whether you're talking to a bot, whether you're talking to an employee of Tinder that's just leading you on, trying to get you to buy the gold or the platinum membership so that you can then see who's liked you. Conversations are good for a couple of days and then it goes dry. So just for the sanity of your own mind, don't bother doing that. Give yourself time to heal. I think the things that really helped me was getting back in the gym. Alcohol's a big one. If you're anything like 90% of us blokes out there, you'll turn to the bottle, and it's easy to forget once you've had a few beers. But then it's almost as though the emotions that you've suppressed come back tenfold the next day, the day after, and whatever it is. But it's not easy, but it does get better. Now, it's funny actually, because I quite like comic books and Marvel things and superheroes, and everybody's got an origin story. And I was saying to a couple of the lads that work with me in the office and over at the podcast the other day that if I hadn't have gone through what I've gone through, none of this would have happened. None of it. There'd be no podcast. There'd be no End the Struggle. There'd be no mentoring or sales of products or advice to people or messages at 2:00 in the morning with random blokes that are going through the same thing that I went through and struggling. And sometimes it takes you to hit rock bottom. I think it was the woman that wrote Harry Potter, whatever her name is, J.K. Rowling, that she said the solid foundation that you can build from is rock bottom. And that really is when you're thinking to yourself, everything's done, it's over, I've got nothing left, and you've accepted that, it's easy to rebuild because your ego's gone. The people that have gone, I thought that such and such was going to be a marriage forever, or they were going to be together forever, or he was going to be such a good dad, or, you start to miss out on these things. But once you've stripped all of that away, it becomes easy then to build something new. And if you are struggling, like I've said before, reach out. It's getting difficult for me now to message everybody. I mean, I think on my phone now I've got a couple of hundred unanswered messages from requested messages. I can't keep up with it. But in the early days you can. But if you're really struggling, you can message me on here, get me on the email. I'm not a trained professional, but I am somebody that's been through it, and I'll give you a real honest opinion. And I'll tell you what's worked for me, and what's worked for me might not necessarily work for everybody. But it's not going to be easy. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Just ride with it. I think it's one of the best sayings that I ever heard, and it was, tough times are temporary, but tough people are permanent. And that rings true. So think about that when you're going through shit. But equally, when things are going well, just be cautious, that just around the corner you could have a bit of a dip. How long was that? 6? 4? 4 minutes. Smooth.